Welcome to the Creative Edge. I'm Joanna Joy Seetoo. This show is about the ideas, stories, and sparks that shape creative lives, from artists and musicians to makers, technologists, and visionaries, exploring how they imagine, build, and redefine what's possible. Thank you for joining me. Today on the Creative Edge, I'm sitting down with someone whose career has shaped entire corners of our industry. Jacques Voorhees is an entrepreneur, an innovator, and a best-selling author, someone who has repeatedly stepped into new territory long before others could see where it was heading. He founded Polygon, the first online trading platform created for the diamond and jewelry community, at a time when the idea of doing business online was still unfamiliar to most of the trade. And he continues to explore new frontiers through Icecap.ai, developing AI-powered shopping tools that help retailers meet customers' needs where they are today. Jacques, thank you for being here. I'm excited to talk not just about the companies you've built, but about the curiosity, the creative thinking, and the willingness to take risks that have moved your work forward.
My pleasure to be here, Joanna. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Awesome. Well, we have to start with Polygon. You founded something that completely changed how jewelers communicated and traded. So what sparked that early vision?
The story is worth telling. I've told it before, but I don't think I've ever told it in kind of a formal interview. And it's kind of funny because I was probably the least likely person to do what I did. I knew nothing about diamonds. I knew nothing about computers. I knew nothing about business. I had no money. I had no connections. It's like every single box you want to see checked, none of them were checked. But how I got into it, I was just coming off a political campaign in Iowa. We lost the campaign, so I wasn't going to get a cushy job in Washington, which we'd all hoped for. But back then, this was the late 70s, if you go back in a time machine, and diamond investment was a big deal back then, diamond investment, because inflation was super high, interest rates were low, and that made hard assets very valuable. So lots of companies had sprung up like dandelions around the country to sell diamonds to investors. Uh, I can say this now. I didn't realize it at the time. Most of them were basically fraudulent. They were selling at extremely high markups, like worse than more than triple keystone kind of things. And the people they were selling to would have no real hope of ever making a profit. But that was going on. There was about $1 billion a year going into it. And so a company that had started up in Iowa that we happened to have a family acquaintance with, they offered me a job as a salesperson to work for them. And it's like diamonds, for investment, what? So I thought I'd better learn something about this industry. So I went out to New York and I took their 1 week GIA diamond grading course. Kind of that's how we all sort of get into this industry, right? We take the GIA training. Um, and I was fortunate enough that the guy next to me, also in his 20s, just like me, young 20s, was Saul Goldberg, who was the son of William Goldberg, who is, at the time was the president of the Diamond Dealers Club. And I got to know Saul just because we were sitting next to each other for a week. And when he found out what I was doing, he said, I think you should talk to my dad. So after the course was over, he took me up to the Diamond Dealers Club, which was a big deal for, 20-something kid from Iowa, to the office of William Goldberg himself. And William was a very nice guy, very polite. And he basically said, don't take that job. Don't get into it. And I said, why not? He said, because diamonds are, the way they're being sold, they're a bad investment. You can buy them, but you can't sell them. And I said, well, why can't you sell them? He said, because there's no two-way marketplace. It's not how the jewelry industry works. It's a one-way flow from the mines to the cutters, to the retailers, to the consumer. You can't easily swim upstream, and so you can't easily sell your diamonds. And the people that are buying now are going to lose a lot of money, and you don't want to do that. It's just a bad thing. So I couldn't disagree with him. I mean, he knew the industry. And as I was driving home, my career in tatters, my first career I was going to have in tatters, it occurred to me, this was like the light bulb moment. If there's $1 billion a year going into diamonds for investment, and that's the structure of the marketplace makes it such that you can buy diamonds, but you can't sell them, then someone needs to fix that problem. Someone needs to create a two-way marketplace. And it occurred to me, just because I'd heard the word computer, again, we're back in the late 70s, it just occurred to me that probably computers could help with that. You could do something with computers. I didn't know what, but you could throw computers at it and they could somehow create this two-way marketplace. Okay, that's where the light bulb moment came from. And it took me an insane number of years to actually bring it to fruition. I had to raise seed capital. I had made every single mistake in the book. Um, but we finally opened in 1984, and basically right at the moment when the diamond investment market crashed. Actually, we opened in '83, just as the market was crashing. Great timing, right? So in addition to everything else against me, I had timing going against me. And we would have gone out of business. We should have gone out of business, except that I realized, well, all the stuff we've built by way of a two-way marketplace, it wouldn't be that difficult to tweak it and apply it to the jewelry industry itself. So that jewelers, instead of diamond investors, could be buying and selling diamonds back and forth. So we made those changes, we reoriented the market, and we were eventually very successful, but it took a long time. That's probably more than you wanted to know, but that's how it came to be.
I think that the flexibility of the pivot and that is what really is the mark of a good entrepreneur and a good leader. It's like you didn't just go down with the ship. You said, no, let's correct course and find something that's actually going to be really useful and it's going to have legs.
Well, and that, if I can bring this up, I've always maintained that that is the hardest thing for the entrepreneur to thread the needle between two imperatives that are in contradiction to each other. One is to always stay the course, know what you're doing, don't get distracted, do the thing that you know needs to be done. That's imperative one. Imperative two is to know when to pivot. In other words, to know when to not stay the course. And those things are opposites. So at every point, you have to say, is this a staying the course moment or is this a pivot moment? And getting those right, that's always been the challenge in my experience.
And getting your team to be on board with you to make all those shifts, I imagine.
Oh yeah, when I decided how we had to change Polygon, this was before we'd actually flipped the switch and turned it on, how we had to change it to make it work for the jewelry industry instead of the investment community. Everybody on the team thought I was crazy. It's like, what are you smoking? You're taking years of development and work that we've put into building this. You're throwing it out the door and implementing a new structure. This is crazy. But I knew in my heart that the old structure was not going to work, that we had to switch. And so that proved to be right.
So if you were launching Polygon now or in 2026 with AI and blockchain and all that at your fingertips, how would it look?
Yeah, I think well, I'll mention you mentioned blockchain, and so let's bring up NFTs. Remember, we went through an NFT fad,
Yes.
non-fungible tokens, which are a way to take an individual thing, whatever it is, a unique thing, unlike a dollar bill, which is there's zillions of them, or an ounce of gold, a unique thing, and attach it to a token that can be traded back and forth on blockchain systems, like the Bitcoin or the Ethereum blockchains. I actually did that with a company called Icecap.diamonds. We attached NFTs to diamonds and sold them to people that wanted to collect that. And that was very successful. We actually hit profitability right before, again, my great timing, right before the entire diamond crash, in mid 2002. And that business, we just sort of put it on hold because suddenly no one was interested in owning diamonds for anything other than jewelry at that point. But we were very successful with applying blockchain NFT technology to diamonds. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the some of the experience. I think if we were to go back in time and if we had AI technology back when we started Polygon, or if I was starting Polygon today and nothing like it existed and we had AI technology, I, I mean, ultimately, Polygon was just a communication system. Instead of a retailer finding a diamond by calling one or two or three dealers in New York, he would find a diamond by reaching out to thousands of people, including pawn shops and retailers and dealers in New York and dealers in other places in the world, to literally thousands of potential sources with a few keystrokes, a few mouse clicks. That's what Polygon was. It was a very efficient communication system. So how would you improve that with AI. I think what you do is you would use AI to analyze the patterns of purchasing and selling going on. You'd study the diamond requests coming in and notice, oh, this week everyone's asking for GVS ones. What's going on? You'd use AI to figure out what the trend lines were, not just for the gem and jewelry calls and offers, but also the conversations people are having. They use Polygon as a conversation and communication tool. It was sort of the jewelry industry's Facebook before there was social media.
It was
And
like MySpace for
oh
jewelers.
yeah. I mean, they were doing the same kind of thing you do on social media today, including arguing politics. And I was the worst offender. I'd get on the Polygon discussion channels and want to talk politics, and the rest of our team would always try to grab the shepherd's hook and pull me off stage. And look, don't annoy everybody with your stupid political opinions. But the point is, those conversations, most of them were about business. Like employee problems and how you handle fraud and all this kind of stuff. What do you do about the vendor there, or the supplier that won't pay you, or you won't, whatever. And you could take AI today and analyze all those conversations and come up with truths like, oh, wow, the jewelers, the biggest problem they seem to have is employee absenteeism, or whatever it might be. And you could learn something from that. So I think it's a question of, you could throw AI at it and just sort of extract more value that would go beyond the trading itself.
That's an interesting perspective too, because I do feel, like the ability for AI to do the deep dive and start researching at this really rapid rate is quite beneficial. It is also a little daunting, right? And I mean, our industry has long been built on craftsmanship, on touch, on trust. So where does AI enhance rather than replace those elements?
Well, if the question is what can AI do for the jewelry industry, um, how much time do you have? I mean, here's what's exciting to me about AI and the jewelry industry. Let's just take a walk down this perspective for a moment. When the internet came along, and by the internet I mean the web. The internet had been around for decades prior, but the web, that's what made the internet useful. When the web came along, it completely changed not just the jewelry industry, but all industries, as we know. But in the beginning, let's focus on the jewelry industry. The web, the internet, was not a positive. It was a negative for that industry. The main thing the internet did to the jewelry industry was it wiped out profit margins. And it was great for the consumer. The consumer had access suddenly to all kinds of inside trade information. They often knew the four C's better than the sales person on the floor knew the four C's. They were walking around with rap sheets in their back pocket, printouts from the internet, perhaps. They had access to thousands of vendors, and it wiped out profit margins. It just did. Again, good for the consumer, not so good for people that were enjoying Triple Keystone or whatever it was. And that the industry recovered. The industry reshaped itself into something that was sort of appropriate for that world. And businesses had to become more efficient. They couldn't survive on those huge markups anymore. They couldn't rely on them, rather. So it all kind of had a happy ending. Today the industry is going along fine, but at the time it was terrible for those in the industry. I mean, it was a battle zone. Companies were going out of business right and left. Okay, compare that to AI. AI is the opposite. AI is right out of the box for the jewelry industry a net positive, not just a net positive. It's like no downside in a sense, because instead of wiping out profit margins, AI is wiping out costs for businesses. It's now maybe not so good for the employee that, instead of hiring, 8 customer service staff, you're only hiring one because AI does the rest, that kind of thing. So from an employment standpoint, okay, maybe there's a negative there. There is. It's gonna change the nature of the employment in the industry. But for businesses in the industry, and that very much includes small retail jewelers, small jewelry designers, artisans, it wipes out costs. It just basically everything that before you had to throw people and salaries and costs to outside outsourcing vendors and so forth now can be done almost for free. I mean, most of what's out there with AI is close to free. And so that's going to be great. That means that we don't have to go through this horrible period where our whole business structure is having the rug pulled out from it and we have to completely redesign ourselves. No, we just take all of our cost centers and we use AI to cut down the cost by 90%. So it's pretty exciting in my opinion.
You're right. I mean, there are so many great opportunities, and they are really very low cost or no cost at all, at least, on the initial phases, which is great for when people are starting out with it. What would you say the biggest immediate opportunities for jewelers are using AI right now?
Um, there's an interesting company called Jeweler's Advantage. Jewelersadvantage.com is the URL. I don't have any connection to it, but I've seen what they do. They're essentially trying to be the GIA for the jewelry industry in the sense of for AI. So they're providing tools and training for how AI can be used by the retail jeweler. And it's not just one thing. It's like how you use it for CAD CAM, how you use it for marketing, how you use it for all the different things that a jeweler has to do. They teach the jeweler how to do those things with AI. And their attitude is kind of I've talked to the founder of the company. Their attitude is those jewelers that aren't jumping on the AI bandwagon are going to be out of business pretty soon. So they're like a lifeboat. They're there to help people not be out of business by doing that. So they're sort of taking a complete all of the above approach to it. My own new company, which is Icecap.ai, we're very niche oriented. We've created what we believe is the best AI sales bot, sales assistant in the world, so that a retailer can have on their website the same sales power that they have in their store with the in-store salesperson. So those are just a couple of things. But here's the best. If you're a jeweler and you want to know how you can use AI for your business, go to ChatGPT
And
and
just
ask it.
ask.
Hmm? Sorry, I'm down in Phoenix. I'm losing my voice because of the dry air. But yeah, you don't have to wonder. You just go to ChatGPT and say, here's my jewelry store. Here's what we do, blah, blah, blah. Here's some of our challenges. What should I be doing different? And how can AI help? That you use AI to figure out how to use AI. And you use AI for all, you should do that with everything, every single decision, every question that you're facing as a business owner. Start by going to AI and seeing what it says.
So here's the thing, though. I mean, as we all know, and I mean, it's your business to talk to other business owners, right? Now, with especially with your new endeavor to
Yeah.
be able to present that, um, you must meet with a lot of fear and skepticism around AI. So, what is it that most business owners are still fundamentally misunderstanding, or any of us are misunderstanding about AI?
Um, well, I guess my answer to that would be they're not realizing the size and power of the juggernaut that's about to sweep through our economy. I mean, we thought the internet was a big deal back when they invented electricity. I'm sure they thought that was a big deal. Back when those cavemen invented the wheel and fire, I'm sure they thought that was a big deal. Hey,
Shock, it was.
the wheel was good. The wheel was good. Electricity is
Fire, great for you.
fire was useful. You could cook stuff. You could stay warm. The internet was what, look what we're all doing now with the internet. But it's nothing. Those things are nothing compared to AI. And the reason I say that, let's just focus on this. Why is AI different from all those other things? Because all those other things simply made life a little bit easier or a lot easier for the humans, right? So fire kept the humans warm. The wheel let the humans move. The internet let people find access to products and services more quickly and efficiently. and gain knowledge. All that was sort of useful stuff for the humans. It was nice, it's not like we had to have it. Humanity had existed before it, but it was nice. It made everything a little bit easier. Okay, AI is the first thing to come along that has the ability to replace the human, not not keep them warm or let them shop more efficiently or travel better, but to replace them. You see what a completely different thing that is. And that's why you can't look at it, oh, it was there internet, now there's AI. No, this is the big one. This is the one that we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. I really believe this. I don't know if AI will be the most wonderful thing to ever happen to humanity or the absolute worst thing. I don't know. And we're going to find out pretty quickly. That's what
Well,
I think people are not focused on.
and I mean, I think that that is part of what fuels the trepidation.
Well, and it should. I mean, I'd say whatever level of trepidation is out there, it's probably not enough. But the flip side of that, whatever optimism there is probably not enough. And so this and what I keep wondering to myself is, does humanity have within it the skills, the ability to turn AI into the best thing that ever happened? Or are we not up to the challenge and it will become the worst thing that ever happened? I don't know if we're up to the challenge. But you know what? Let's all try to be up to the challenge. Let's start each day with, okay, this is another day where I'm going to figure out how I can be riding the horse. I can be mastering AI rather than the horse, trampling over me. That's what we have to do. And
So
it'll be up to us. I don't think I think it will be up to us which path it happens, that does happen.
I agree with that. And I think, staying on the optimistic side, tell me how you feel AI would help a small business compete with the big players.
Well, the obvious answer to that is it just gives, I mean, what can a large business do that a small business can't do? Everything is scaled. So because it's scaled, they're able to achieve efficiencies that are very difficult, if not impossible, for the small business.
Hmm.
Okay, so take something like 24/7 customer service that not just answers the phone 24/7, but can do it in multiple languages. All right, a company like Apple can deliver that, right? Um, a company like Blue Nile, I'm sure, can deliver that. How does Joe Jeweler in Peoria deliver that? Well, in Peoria, he probably doesn't have to support multiple languages, perhaps. Maybe Spanish would be nice and so forth. But how does he even achieve 24/7 customer service? Well, with the kind of AI chat assistants that we're building, they can be used for sales. They can also be used for customer service. We have one customer that's using it just for that, just customer service. And so you can tie in the AI with your customer service database, your repair tickets, your custom orders, so that the AI knows that. So when someone inquires, they don't do it by a phone call. They do it by going on the website and engaging with the AI and saying, "Hey, when's my watch repair gonna be back?" And the AI says, "Well, what's your name, sir?" "Well, I'm Smith, John Smith." And okay, yes, I see it here, John Smith. Yes, well, it's done. You'll be able to pick it up anytime after 11 tomorrow morning. Okay, imagine being able to do that at all, trivial cost, and to do that 24/7. That's compared to having people that have to take time out of their day to answer that question and to look up the file. And oh my God, that's just an obvious kind of thing that jewelers could start doing today.
It's funny you mentioned something about, bigger companies like Blue Nile or Apple having that capability to converse with their clients in multiple languages and at a 24/7 schedule. But the funny thing is I do remember when people all started building websites, like part of the allure was that they would be able to reach this much broader audience, right? But I think perhaps maybe some mom and pops maybe never utilized the capabilities that the internet was able to provide. And so now I know you've created Icecap.ai, and I really do want you to tell me more about this concept. And I think you discussed a little bit about what it can do, but tell me what problem you were really trying to solve.
Well, the main problem we were trying to solve, we've all encountered these chat assistants on websites, right? Whether it's Rufus at Amazon or all the others. And if there's one thing everyone agrees on is all of them suck. I mean, they just suck. They're horrible. They can't answer questions. They come back with stupid responses. They get befuddled easily. They just suck, right? Okay, so I realized, just like with what we did with Polygon, I saw a problem. The problem is all these things suck. So let's come up with one that doesn't. And that's what we did with IcecapAI. We have one that is actually blowing people away with how competent, intelligent, useful, friendly. It has all the customer service skills that you want. It can actually sort of develop friendship. Well, we've all seen it with ChatGPT. You can get addicted to ChatGPT just because it's so friendly and nice to you, and it's always enabling and approving and so forth. So imagine that same kind of thing tied into a business tool on your website where, well, just sort of think about how it works with a physical store. Someone walks in, and what happens? Do they start looking around? No, someone comes up and greets them and says, "Hi, sir, how are you? Uh, are you staying dry out of the rain? I see it was really coming down a few minutes ago." They start to bond and they become social and they interact. You know what they say? You buy from who you like, right? Okay, so that's what happens at a physical store. A website, and increasingly sales are moving onto the web. We're up to what, 25% or something like that. But the website doesn't have that. All it has is stupid navigation and about us and mission statement and our just like all these top nav choices that are different on every website, and you have to go in there and figure out what you're doing, and everyone gets website stress because they don't know where to go, and often they can't get their questions answered. There's no salesperson on a website. There's no customer service person on a website. But with AI, there can be, and it can be not a sucky one. It can be a really good one that is as good, if not better, than any of your existing salespeople or customer service people. That's what we're providing, and it's you can use that for tech support if you're a tech company. You can use it for customer service. You can use it for sales. Um, it, our technology even has the ability to do things like negotiate with the customer based on rules that the owner of the company sets. And it can consider things like sales going on, and it can reach out and find, oh yeah, you're interested in such and such watch, but you're just checking around. Hey, can I check around for you? Oh yeah, there's a company actually over here that will sell it for $100 less. I see that now. Ah, you know what, Mr. Jones, if you're willing to make a commitment now, I will not be undersold. How about we do it? I will meet their price.
That's
Great,
what.
let's do it. Here's the promo code, and I'll take you right to the shopping cart. Imagine a website that can deliver that kind of customer service and sales ability. And I mean, even a salesperson on the floor of the store can't immediately check all the different prices that other competitors are offering. They can't do that. But AI can do that using what's called agents, agentic AI. It can be out there constantly seeing who the competitors are, either within a defined geographical range or not a geographical range, whatever. And it can have that information and use it if it wants to do the magic necessary to close the sale. Um,
That's amazing because that's a capability that basically only people like Amazon were able to utilize before.
Right. Well, that's another good example of what the small company can do that before only the big company can do. Yeah, that's child's play for AI to be out there with agents checking what other people are selling the product for, and then delivering that back to the customer service AI or the sales AI that is trying to close the sale. And I mean, how many times does a retailer hear, when the guy's not quite ready to buy and he hears the phrase, "Okay, well, thank you, appreciate it. I'm just checking around."
Yeah, I'll think about
I'll
it.
think about it. Right. Oh God, the words we most hate, I'm just looking around. I'm just checking it out. Okay. But if you could say, yeah, I understand you're checking it out. Here, let me do that for you. Okay, here it is. Here's all the other vendors that have this product. Here are the prices. Oh, one of them's lower. Okay, you know what? If you commit right now, we'll meet that price. What's the consumer going to do? I mean, if I were faced with that, I'd say, well, damn, that's going to save me a ton of time. Um, yeah, let's do it now. I don't have to spend any more time on it. This thing has done it for me, done all the research, and is giving me the lowest price, or whatever. Maybe you don't actually meet the price, but you throw in 10% towards your next purchase, or a free watch battery, or all the kind of things you can do. You layer all this into the knowledge of the AI, into the training of the AI, and it does it, and it does it almost for free. Oh, and
One
it
of the
speaks
things,
220 languages if that's useful.
well, yeah, I mean, it actually is now. I think that we all know that a lot of people buy when they're on vacations and things like that. So
That's true.
I think all of that is great. And I like the idea too. I know that I'm thinking about like, in the cruise ship terminals and all of the
Yeah,
retailers that are there. And a lot of times, they might lose that initial sale, but people do go back to the website and then purchase, right? Because they
true.
want that memento. And so the ability for your online sales assistant to be able to still communicate with any of these clients is really kind of remarkable. One of the things that I think you have in your capabilities is making your chatbot or whatever your sales online salesperson not be generic, because I do find that most of them online are very generic.
Yeah, that's another thing we're heavily focused on. That different websites, well, different companies that have websites, they all have a different vibe, kind of in terms of how they're presenting themselves. Are they serious and conservative, or are they more frivolous and friendly, or where are they? And so our AI specializes in being able to pick up on that tone, that vibe of the store. Now, how does it do that? Well, it can do that just by scraping the existing website and learning from it. Oh, I see how these people talk. I get it. It's not just, yeah, English, but I see the tone, the cadence, the casual versus formal. The level of vocabulary they're using, it senses all that. It senses all that. So all it has to do is like, okay, I get this store. I can now represent this store in their voice. Not just do I know all the facts, like when they open and close, but I know their voice. I know their approach. I feel it. And it's one of the main compliments we get from customers. They say, how does this AI speak the way we speak? How does it know how to do that? And the answer is it does, because it learned from you. Again, you do the same thing with a human salesperson or a human customer service person, right? But it might take months or longer, and they may never quite get there. And they may have an accent because they don't speak the language perfectly, or they, whatever. But the AI speaks 220 languages perfectly, perfectly. Oh, and it can talk. It doesn't have to just be in characters typed back and forth. It can switch into conversational, acoustic talking. And of course, when it does that, it's speaking in a perfect accent. Like if it speaks French, it's speaking Parisian French, and so forth. It's great. These are all the kinds of things you can do with AI that we never could dream of doing before. And again, like the costs are trivial.
So I'm going to ask you this as an entrepreneur, as a futurist, 5 years from now, what do you envision, or what would you like Icecap.ai to become?
What would I like the company to become? Yeah, that you said 5 years. Oh, do you realize how absurd that is? I mean, in the world of AI, we don't talk in terms of years. We talk, who knows if we'll be alive in 5 years? We talk in terms of months or weeks or days, if not hours, because it's moving that fast. So, I would hope that a insane geological age amount of time like 5 years we'd be able to look back and say, we won. Humans won. We found a way to tame the monster, to make it our servant. And now we're all hanging out at the beach, drinking Mai Tais while AI does all our work for us. That's what I would love. And I would love to have a company that has helped usher in that world, as opposed to we're all hiding in bunkers and Terminator type robots with guns are going around trying to kill us. That's the other choice. We've all seen the movies. We all know what that looks like. But I would like to have a company that is sort of basking in the golden age of humanity, by which I mean we've gotten machines to do everything for us, and we can now enjoy the leisure, the sort of fulfillment of our souls that come from what, creative pursuits, painting, hobbies, whatever it might be. And all the drudgery stuff is being done by AI and by AI robots. That's the kind of world I'd like to see. Now,
I am 100% on board with that vision of the future.
doesn't that sound great? We,
It sounds remarkable.
it-
I've been waiting for that. I'm
yeah,
so,
haven't we all?
but well, okay. So you are not just a pioneer or even a tech pioneer. You're also an author. And so does your storytelling mind influence how you innovate?
They're probably connected on some deep visceral level, because there's nothing more liberating and empowering than writing fiction, because you get to play God, so to speak. You get to create people and you get to control what they say and what they do and what happens to them. If that's not playing God, what is? So, so that sort of storytelling is a very creative element. But I think one of the things we're trying to do with AI, this is sort of where the business and and my hobby of storytelling kind of overlap. Um, Most every company, but in particular consumer brands, and you can imagine diamond brands, jewelry brands, even all the way down to very small brands like independent jewelry designers that might not have, we're not all David Yurman, but there's someone that is trying to be a brand in the sense that their name is exposed to the consumer. That's what I mean by a brand, by a consumer brand, even if they're not well known. Um, all those people have a story, right? Uh, and even if it's not a brand, even if it's a B2B brand like a Stuller, to use an extreme case, every company has a story that goes with them. Every trade association, like Jewelers of America, American Gem Society, GIA has a story. All these stories need to be told to the consumer. And that it's always a challenge to tell that story. And large companies, powerful brands like David Yurman, like Rolex, spend zillions of dollars to, buy up the back covers of Town and Country magazine and so forth to try to evoke the brand and what their brand means, and just all the money that goes into that and how difficult it is to establish a brand and communicate the story. Okay, so we're developing products that let the AI tell the story on the websites of retailers. So imagine you're a brand, a jewelry brand, and you have, whether you're a big brand or not a well-known brand, but you're a jewelry industry brand of some kind, and you sell through retailers. Imagine being able to put your story told by AI. This is what we call it specialty AI into the websites of your retailers. So when someone, I'm just using Rolex as an example, we don't work with them right now, hope to. When someone like a Rolex or a David Yurman, when someone comes, or an unknown designer that nonetheless is appearing on someone's website, the AI can knows all about that story and can communicate that to the consumer, not with a lavish sort of static ad on the back of a magazine, but in a, hey, can I tell you about this designer, Susie Smith? She has an amazing story. Can I give you a little bit of information? Like you might like to know the fact that she was raised by wolves in Zambia, and that sort of inclined her to become a jewelry designer, blah, blah, whatever the story is. I'm just making stuff up. But imagine being able to use AI to tell the story of the brand in the website of the retail site that's selling that brand. That's never been done before. And
No.
and that's sort of where I take my approach to stories and fiction. Well, brands aren't fiction, but they are stories. And say, how can we use AI to communicate the story? AI is really, really good at this. It's really good. Well, that's why all those authors out there are worried, screenwriters in Hollywood and so forth. They're terrified because AI is just a killer writing machine. And so it can communicate this kind of stuff just, in some ways far better than the typical human can. So that's another kind of thing that can be used by the industry, uh, AI telling stories that connect to brands and companies and trade associations and so forth. It's pretty cool.
So I mean, I understand that AI can adopt a style or basically somebody's personality. So yeah, that would be again something of concern if you are a creative. But I mean, you're a creative, and I have to ask, is there a theme from your books that reflects your philosophy about the future?
No, no, my books are pure entertainment, beach reading. I want people to be entertained. I want them to be addicted to turning the page and reading. I like to write page turners that are pure fun and have no meaning whatsoever. It's kind of me taking a holiday from having to think deeply. It's pure entertainment. When I write books, at the end, each new paragraph is what would I, as a reader, want this next paragraph to say? And that's what I write. It's pure entertainment fiction, but I like to think that,
Aspect from life, yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
So, what excites you most right now at this intersection of jewelry and AI that we're talking about?
Um, well, so many things, but I guess I got to come back to what I said before. One of the most exciting things about it is that there's no bad news for the business owner. It's all good news, which is the opposite of the internet. So back with Polygon, a lot of people looked at Polygon as a negative. It was disrupting the industry. When websites came along, people were looking, and correctly, we're looking at that as disrupting of the industry and damaging their profit margins, and they were absolutely right, it did. And so it was kind of a, group therapy session. Yeah, it sucks. What are we going to do about it? How do we use this tool? We have to. We don't have a choice. But what's exciting about AI, you don't have those negatives right now, as far as the business owner is concerned. So I'm as someone that's going around trying to spread the AI story and be an advocate for it. I'm like going around delivering good news. It's like, hey, there's good news. You get to cut this percentage of this part of your budget. You need to cut that percentage of that part of your budget. There's no downside. And that's fun. I mean, who doesn't like to be the bearer of good news?